Hey everybody, this is Jimmy from The Unusual Mind, and I'm watching bad movies so you don't have to. On this episode of Behind the B Movie, we're headed to Corman University for Pledge Week. That's right, we are watching the horror comedy Night of the Creeps. So grab a cup for beer pong, because good news, the party is here. Bad news, they're dead. Night of the Creeps is a 1986 American science fiction horror comedy film written and directed by Fred Dekker. In his featured directorial debut, Dekker grew up an avid comic book fan and monster movie buff. Dekker was rejected by both USC and UCLA film schools. He wound up attending UCLA as an English major instead. It was at UCLA he became roommates with the future screenwriter Shane Black, who would go on to write both Lethal Weapon and The Predator. But Black and Dekker would collaborate on the amusing horror comedy House and The Monster Squad, as well as this film, Night of the Creeps, which paid an affectionate homage to the silly, low-budget horror movies he grew up loving as a kid. The script was written in a week, and they were ready to shoot. Night of the Creeps wasn't the only Fred Dekker script which included zombies attacking humans. Around 1988, he and Shane Black worked together on writing the final draft of the script called Shadow Company. It was actually the first script Black wrote in 1984 and was an action horror film about a group of U.S. Special Forces soldiers who died in Vietnam. They rise up as zombies and go on a killing spree. The movie was going to be directed by John Carpenter with Kurt Russell in the main role, but it was never made. Dekker originally wanted to shoot the film in black and white, but the studio wanted color, which led to part of the film taking place in the 50s and part of it taking place in the 80s. Dekker included every B-movie cliche he could think of and insisted on directing the script himself. A fair share of the film was shot in the old Woolsworth department store, which was converted into a makeshift studio. All the names of the main characters are based on famous horror and sci-fi directors. George A. Romero for the character Chris Romero, John Carpenter and Tobe Hooper for James Carpenter Hooper, David Cronenberg is Cynthia Cronenberg, James Cameron is Detective Ray Cameron, John Landis as Detective Landis, and of course Sam Raimi as Sergeant Raimi, and Steve Miner as Mr. Miner, the janitor. The college where the movie is set is entitled Corman University and is a reference to the director-producer Roger Corman. The characters of Chris and JC were also featured in an early short film made by the director. The film starred Jason Lively, Steve Marshall, Jill Withlow, and Tom Atkins. Jason Lively had made appearances on The Dukes of Hazzard before he landed the role of Rusty Griswold in National Lampoon's European Vacation. He would go on to have various bit roles here and there throughout the years, most recently appearing in The Possessed. This was the film debut for Steve Marshall. He wouldn't really go on to do much acting, but he did appear in an episode of 21 Jump Street. Jill Withlow was just establishing herself as an actress, having appeared in both Porky's and Weird Science. She has appeared in various TV series into the 90s and also did a TV commercial for Diet Coke and was prominently featured in the music video for Hungry by the 1980s hair metal band Winger. Tom Atkins had appeared regularly on TV since the 1960s, but made his push into movies, appearing in John Carpenter's films The Fog and Escape from New York. He was considered for the role after he had been featured in horror movies Creepshow as well as Halloween 3's Season of the Witch. In an interview on the Blu-ray, Tom Atkins enthusiastically stated that this, of all his films, was his personal favorite. In a Horror's Hallowed Ground featured on Just Desserts documentary, he stated that director Fred Dekker is one of the few that he'd still love to work with. He would go on to appear in the cop genre favorites Maniac Cop and Lethal Weapon. There is also a cameo by the one and only Dick Miller, playing the character Walt, a nod to his recurring role of Walter Paisley that he has reprised in various Corman productions. The plot begins in 1959 on board a spacecraft. Two aliens race to keep an experiment from being released by a third member of the crew. The seemingly possessed third alien shoots the canister into space, where it crashes into Earth. Nearby, a college man takes his date to a parking spot where they see a falling star and investigate. It lands in the path of an escaped criminally insane mental patient. As his date is attacked by the axe-wielding maniac, the boy finds the canister from which a small slug-like thing jumps into his mouth. 27 years later, in 1986 during Pledge Week, Chris spots a girl, Cynthia, and falls instantly in love. To get her attention, he decides to join a frat. Cynthia's boyfriend, who heads the Beta Epsilon fraternity, tasks them with stealing a cadaver from the university's medical center and disposing of it on the steps of a rival fraternity house. Chris and JC find the frozen corpse in a secret room, but when it grabs them, they flee, scared. The thawed corpse then kills the medical student working in the lab and escapes to spread more alien slugs and raise more zombies to cause havoc on campus. The tool shed sequence was filmed after principal shooting on the movie had wrapped. After a rough cut was shown to a test audience, several people thought that the picture needed more action, so this particular sequence was added to the movie. Night of the Creeps was released August 22, 1986 in the United States. The domestic gross was $591,666 across 70 theaters. The film was released on VHS and Laserdisc in 1986 by HBO Canon Video. The DVD and Blu-ray was released October 27, 2009 by Sony Pictures Home Entertainment and contained both the original ending with some special features. Scream Factory re-released it on Blu-ray June 18, 2019 with some extra special features. The soundtrack album featuring Barry Dvorak's score for the film, except for tracks 22 to 26, was issued in 2009 by La La Land Records. Asterisk tracks included the sound effects. Michael Gingold of Fangoria rated the film a 3.5 out of 4 stars and called it one of the year's most surprisingly entertaining fright features. One that homaged practically every subgenre imaginable, yet kept a sure hand on its tone and never descended into spoofery. Steve Barton of Dread Central rated it a 5 out of 5 stars and called it a classic in every sense of the word. Christopher Montefiore of IGN rated it 7 out of 10 and wrote that the film shows its age, but is scary, gory, and has plenty of quotable lines. The film is full of a lot of other nods and references to B-movies. At the beginning of the movie, at the sorority house, Pam's roommate is talking on the phone with a friend who asks if she's seen Plan 9 from Outer Space, directed and written by Ed Wood. The movie came out that same year in 1959, and later on in the movie in 1986, the house mother is watching the same movie on her television set. According to director Fred Decker, the prominent Striper Rules graffiti visible in the bathroom scene appeared due to makeup artist Kyle Sweet's relationship with future husband, Striper frontman Michael Sweet. The graffiti on the wall of the men's room where JC was trying to escape a number of slugs also reads "Go Monster Squad." The Monster Squad, which came out in 1987, was also directed by Fred Decker and written by Shane Black. This would not be the only reference to the Monster Squad. Decker and Black recycled the same joke used in the Monster Squad. The line, "Dead guys do not get up and walk away by themselves," is a line followed by shot of a dead guy walking down the street. There was an unofficial sequel to the film entitled Zombie Town, but the film was alternatively titled Night of the Creeps 2 Zombie Town in Germany. Overall, Night of the Creeps has all the ingredients of a top-notch cult movie. Sure, Decker often ends up recycling cliches from B-movies, but he does it in a loving way that doesn't spoof or mock them. No, he does it with a sense of 80s charm that 30 years later makes the movie an enjoyable ride that deserves its cult status. And this has been Jimmy with The Unusual Mind, always watching bad movies so you don't have to. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with anybody you know who might want to kick some back at Corman University.